Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode. We're going to be talking about Lightroom and how to enhance what is already beautiful with your photos. There's going to be a few techniques here and there that I've learned and that I hope that I can share with you, and maybe you can use it to enhance your images or your photography. We had a shoot the other day with one of my good friends, Mikkel. He's a half Danish, half Filipino model who is aspiring to get his portfolio together. And I had the privilege of taking one of the nicest photos that I've taken in a long time with him. We used a little bit of a different technique, which is constant lighting using the Aperture Light Dome 120D Mark II for all of you that are curious about it. And yeah, we had a great time. It was one light. We didn't really do anything else except for doing a couple of different poses and this and that, and just being natural, having fun doing it, and the result is amazing. But before anything else, something has to happen. I have to have my coffee. Ooh, strong. That's good. So without further ado, let's dive into Lightroom and see how we can completely transform in images using a few clicks. Shall we? We have loaded the image into Lightroom. We're gonna get started right away. And the first thing that you notice, of course, is that this is the first thing that you see, right? Your tone module. And the most important thing is that you try to get the best exposure and the best values in camera before anything, because it's gonna help you out in the long run. So first things first, I can see that it's a little bit dark on the outer part of the image, the top right-hand corner, and we wanna regain some of that detail back. So we're gonna bring up the shadows, all right? But not too much, because then it looks really, really rough. And after that, we're gonna be taking a look at these highlights. And although he is really, really well exposed and properly, the tones look really, really good, we're gonna take some of that highlight down because we wanna regain some of the detail in his skin tones. After that, we are going to increase the contrast to really give it that punch that you see in photos. And it's gonna go up quite a bit, right? Because we're gonna compensate for that by increasing the exposure just a bit. All right, so right around there. We're gonna crunch our blacks, make them go down. And after that, we're gonna bring up the clarity ever so slightly. I'm gonna taper off of the contrast just a bit and taper off of the blacks. Highlights gonna go down even more. Very good. So that's basically the first adjustment that we're gonna be making to this photo. And after that, we are going to go to our tone curve. And in this one, we're going to be brightening up the dark parts of the photo, or the blacks. So we crunch the blacks to give it that rich goodness, and now we're going to kind of put a mask over it where it's just gonna brighten the picture and make it look like there's more of a separation from the viewer and the subject at hand, right? So we're gonna take this up ever so slightly, and as you can see, it just creates that much more of a dreamier look, right? Boom, 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 boom. So with that done, we've basically done the adjustments that it needed. And if you look here, you can see that already there's a massive, massive difference in the images. So we're gonna continue on. And in this one, we're gonna be diving into our actual subject and some of the features. First things first, we want the detail of his hair to really, really stand out. So we're gonna go here where the masks are, and we're gonna choose our texture. So just start painting over the hair, right? And then normally you can see a huge difference right away on different subjects. But for this one, we're gonna really increase the texture quite a bit, and we're also going to increase the shadows of the image, right? Because that's gonna bring out some more detail that you normally wouldn't see. So there's the shadows bringing up, and as you can see from here to here, huge difference, right? So there's that. You can see how the highlights are. And bring up some more of those highlights. See how the blacks are? No, we don't want to affect the black because then this happens and that's when you start seeing your mask. So we're gonna keep it there. A little bit of clarity. Perfect. So on to the next thing. We are going to be focusing on the skin texture and we're gonna smoothen out just the all-round texture and tone of the skin. So let's go here. We are going to go into soften skin, not the light one, the regular one. And we're gonna start with the arm and you're gonna be able to see right away how massively helpful this is. And generally speaking, you wanna stay away from the darker areas. You wanna get the brighter areas because that's where it's gonna be most affected, right? There we go. Of course, we're gonna go in here a little bit. We've got some skin texture there. Gonna just smoothen this out. Maybe smoothen this out just a little bit to diffuse that light. Now his face is gonna be the one that's gonna be the most profoundly different after we do these steps, right? So let's zoom in here. We can see that we have a lot of texture going on, which is fantastic. Just good stuff to work with, right? We're gonna go through here, gonna smoothen everything out. In fact, I think that I want to, now this is the same mask, right? So I'm gonna Control Z, I'm gonna take that off. We're gonna close this one down. We're gonna reopen a new one so that we can have a separate mask that we can control. After that, we're gonna go over here. We're gonna go to the skin, start with his cheek, go over his nose. And the idea behind this is that you want to preserve the human characteristic of the skin, right? Oops, I think I went over the eye there. So I'm just gonna redo that again. Right here, da, 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 da. Patience is key with this feature because you don't want to go overboard and suddenly you notice that you skipped over or you accidentally got something that you didn't want to get, like the eye or something like that, or the texture of the beard. We want to preserve those because that's what we do. So yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Just around the eye here a little bit, smoothing out the texture. Okay, so that looks fine. Now we're just going to take the texture down, but we don't want to do it too much. So there we have that, And already you can start to see that there's just a massive difference between both photos, right? Right here, we're gonna increase the vibrance just a smidge. That's on the main photo, so we're in the main one, right? I just wanted to pick up those colors just a bit. And there we are. So now, what we're gonna focus on is the eyes. We're gonna go to the Iris Enhance module. And this one, normally what it does is it increases your clarity and exposure. But we're gonna go one more step further and we're gonna increase the shadows because that's really important. It has a lot of detail in there, right? If I were to increase just the shadows, look how much detail is coming out in this photo. I'm gonna take this off so that you can see. But yeah, see, there you go. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go meet halfway between shadows and exposure. Now, if you go too high, it's gonna start looking like a little bit of a vampire, which if you're going for that effect, hey, all the more to you. Looks actually really, really cool, but we're not doing that for this one. We're just going to taper off so that we can have just enough of the detail of the eye to know that he's human being, and a little bit of the clarity, and it looks like we are golden from there. Now, we're gonna go into the spot healing, but before I do that, I actually see that I need to do a little bit more on around here, around his nose. So just make sure that that's done properly. So it just looks like a smooth transitions everywhere. All right, a little bit over here again. Actually, maybe we just go over one more time. See if that does the job. And it's really nice to experiment with some things. And of course, you're not gonna know how it looks until you do it, right? So this for me, it's looking a little bit too much because now, yeah, that's much better. So we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna do it around the nose area like we were doing and call that a day, all right? So for the next one, we are going to be now focusing on the healing and cloning, but mostly healing. I don't think we're gonna be doing any cloning. That's where you're gonna press heal over here. That's fine, that's fine. And of course, if you have a scrollable mouse, you can just scroll up and down to increase or decrease the size of your brush. And we're gonna take care of, for example, this guy here, this guy. All right, so now that we have finished that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do a little bit more editing on the texture of this part of his face so that we can get a little bit more rid of the scarring here. At first it's gonna increase it and then it's gonna decrease in a moment. So we just do that and it should soften it up considerably. All right, so there you go. And ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna be the before and after. Check that out. How amazing is that? I'm actually gonna increase the contrast just a smidge more. Kind of make those colors pop. Yeah, and maybe crush those blacks a little bit more so that it's really nice. So ladies and gentlemen, I really hope that you were able to learn something from this experience. You probably already know about all there is to know in Photoshop or Lightroom or what have you, but sometimes it helps to get a very different perspective on what people are looking for or what they see. I know that I definitely learn a lot from other people's perspective and what to look out for. So hopefully this has helped you and inspired you to do some of the photos that you've already taken in Lightroom. And if you have, link me to the pictures, let me know how it's going, let me know if you have learned anything or if there's anything that you would like more details on. And until next time, I sincerely hope that you have a wonderful night. We'll see you soon.